What's up everyone, Chris here with a tech tip video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the bolt catch function on WE M4 rifles and also the HK416 models. I'm hoping that this is going to be the ultimate bolt catch fix video guide for the WE M4 platform. I know a lot of people have issues or have had issues, myself included. So I've sort of collected all of the tips that I have found so far, and I've implemented them in my M4, and now my bolt catch is working flawlessly, like 100% perfect. So in this video I'm going to go over why there's a problem with it and the different steps that you can do to fix them. So for this particular rifle, I took out the bolt catch that I had in, took out the mods that I've done. I have a standard WE M4 CO2 magazine, and I have a I think I would refer to it as a old generation bolt catch in here, and I'll show you the difference in a second. But let's go ahead and first talk about how the bolt catch feature works in a WE M4. And it all starts with the magazine. You can see this little lever or tab sticking up back here. That is what is actually engaging the bolt catch in the rifle when the magazine runs out of BBs. So if I take a punch here and depress the follower, the tab is not sticking up. So when the last BB is fired from the magazine and the follower comes all the way up, the tab appears and it's spring loaded, and we'll take a look at how that mechanism works in a bit. So step number one is that this tab has to be enabled and engaged for the bolt stop to work. So what that in turn does is that this little tab, when it comes up, it pushes. Let's see if we can simulate this. So let's pretend that my punch is the bolt catch inside the rifle. So when the tab engages it, it lifts up the bolt catch, which in turn catches on a ledge on the actual bolt and stops it in the rearward position. So that's in short how the bolt catch feature works. So let's take a look at how this one performs. So again, the tab is enabled. Make sure the magazine is nice and seated. I'll see if I can get a close-up here. Pulling the bolt back, and that gray piece in the back of the chamber is the inside of the bolt catch, this right here. So pulling the bolt back, releasing, doesn't catch. Again, nothing. So let's go ahead and I'll just apply pressure to the the bottom of the bolt catch on this side and see if it's able to catch when I do that. And there it goes. That works. So take a look at how when I push on the bolt stop in the bottom piece of the bolt stop right here, I'm pushing on this one, that's what actually actuates the bolt catch and engages it. So here I'm not doing anything, and then if I push, you can see that it comes up and catches on the left side of the bolt. So let's try it again. I'll try to push the magazine in while I'm doing this. Still doesn't work. Okay, so I think I'm proving the point here that it's not working properly. Oops. And you can see, sorry about that, you can see the tab from the magazine. That's the black piece right there, actuating the bolt catch arm up here. So the problem with this setup is, first of all, what's in the rifle is a, like I said in the intro here, an old style M4 bolt catch. And the difference here is, I'll go ahead and show you the one that I'm actually using. So this is one that I'm actually supposed to have installed. The amount of material on this piece, the thickness or height, it's the one that's installed, that's the old gen, is significantly thinner, and so when the little arm from the magazine comes up, there's not enough material to push it into position to engage it. So that's what, you know, the main problem with this is. And if you have an older WE rifle, that may very well be the main problem in yours. So we're going to take a closer look at that in a second. The next problem that is most likely causing the bolt catch to not work properly is the amount of side-to-side play in the bolt catch lever. So this right here means that excuse me, when the arm from the magazine engages, it's not going to pivot the bolt catch straight up, but rather at a offset angle, which means that the height that the bolt catch comes up is not enough. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's I'll take this apart and show you in a second. The next, let's see, the other issue that you might be having that's causing the bolt stop not to work is if your buffer tube or receiver extension tube is screwed in too tightly. We'll take a look here at my bolt. You can see when it comes back, and let me push the bolt catch up, you can see there's quite a bit of distance here for the bolt catch to engage. If you have your buffer tube in too tightly, the space between the bolt maxing out to the rear and being able to catch on the bolt catch might be too thin or not enough, you know, space. So the bolt catch doesn't have time to come up and catch the bolt. So let's go ahead and take off the upper, and I'll show you how, in more detail, how this works. So here we have the lower with the upper removed. And this is the bolt catch right here. So you can see, if I wiggle this side to side, you can see that it has a tendency to offset the arm in here, okay? And if we put in the magazine, again, the tab is engaged. You'll see the way that the arm is actuating the bolt catch. And if I push down here, you can see that there's actually quite a bit more of a distance that it should be going to fully engage. So number one, you would want to fix the play here. Second thing I mentioned was the distance of the buffer tube. It's also going to be dependent on the buffer tube spacers that you have in here. I have a real AR buffer tube on mine, so I had to install spacers. But what you do if your timing is off, or if there's not enough room for the bolt catch to engage, is that you would back out your buffer tube 1 or 2 rotations. However, be aware that if you back the buffer tube out too far, your bolt can actually slip off of the hammer and get caught behind the hammer, and you'll have a stuck lower and upper, and you're not going to be able to get them apart. So what you do if that happens, don't panic, don't break your gun. What you need to do is unscrew the locking nut here, remove the buffer tube, and pull the bolt out through the back. And that way you'll be able to separate the two halves, screw the buffer tube in again, and try again. Let's see, so the first fix is for the amount of wiggle here is to use AEG gearbox shims. And I'll show you what this looks like. It's basically tiny circular discs like this, and these are available in 0.1, 0.15, 0.2, 0.25, and 0.3 millimeters. So get a couple of different sizes of those, and you're going to be installing them in between the two posts here that the bolt catch is located in. I'll show you how that works in a second. Well, actually, the first point would be to make sure that you have, let's see, yeah, I think you can kind of see the difference. If I put this, let's see if we can line them up. I think you can see that my new bolt catch that's in the background has a lot more material on this arm sticking out, which means this is going to actuate better or engage better. So that would be the first step. Make sure you have a new gen bolt catch installed. Second thing, AEG shims. Get that wiggle out. It still has to be able to move freely, but reduce the wiggle as much as possible. Third, check your buffer tube installation. If you have a very minimal space between the bolt maxing out and the bolt catch being able to engage, unscrew the buffer tube 1 or 2 rotations and see if that helps. The fourth tip is actually something that I believe that I came up with myself, and that is that we're going to make a modification so that this actuating arm actually comes up a little bit further, and I'll show you on a magazine here that I've done it on already. Let's see if we can hope you can see there that it's not showing up too good, but the PMAG in the background, the lever is actually sticking up maybe 0.5 mils, 0.75 mils more than this one. It doesn't sound like much, but it does do a big difference. Let's see, yeah, there's one more thing, and that is there are 2 modifications that you can do to the actual bolt stop itself that makes it possible for it to engage even further in the receiver. So let's go ahead and start showing you the mods. And I'm going to start by removing the bolt catch that I have installed. Just get a roll of tape here. I want to protect my lower. So just put a strip of electrical tape here so you don't mark up your receiver. Get a get your punch. And this is a little bit awkward because I don't have any support. Ideally, you would have this in some sort of a vise or something. Okay, so the bolt catch dropped out, and I've actually put in a real roll pin in my bolt catch. The original WE pin was just knurled on one end, and it had a tendency to work itself loose. So here's the bolt catch that we just removed. Take a close look here at what that looks like. Okay, and here is my, here's the one that I'm currently using on the right hand side now. Doesn't look too much different from that angle, but if we flip them and take a look here, you can see that this edge on the one here that I'm using has been rounded off. You'll see if I flip it like this, and I've actually rounded off that edge. The second thing to note, if I hold them in, let's see, this orientation, so the right one is the one that I'm using. You can see that this arm right here has been removed from this one, and that is because this arm, when the bolt catch pivots in the upper receiver, this arm actually interfaces with the inside of the wall of the upper receiver and stops it. So by removing this material, the bolt catch has more room to pivot, and thus pushing the arm up further, catching the bolt. And let's see, am I imagining things, or is this not thinner? Yeah, it is. Let's see if I can align that, but you can see that, well, it's difficult to show, but this is thicker than this one. Okay, moving on. I believe that the shims that I'm using is a 0.1 and one that is 0.15, so a total of 0.25 millimeters of spacing. So I'm going to go ahead and install the bolt catch with the shims. Doubt I'll be able to do that on camera since it's a little fiddly. You can put it on either side here. For whatever reason, I'm putting one on each side. It doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright guys, I'm back. That was a little bit more difficult than I remembered it to be. But basically the problem is when putting the pin back in that the AEG shims have to be aligned so you don't get the pin caught on the shims. So you'll hopefully figure that out. But I put in a 0.15 on the right side and a 0.1 on the left side, and I'm using the modified bolt catch now that doesn't have this ledge. So you can see right here, if I try to wiggle it, if you'll recall from the original one, this is a significant improvement in side-to-side motion. So it's going to be difficult to get absolutely zero because it has to have the free movement to pivot around the pin. But let's take a look at what happens if we put in the magazine here now. So hopefully, if I push this down and let it up, you can see that the bolt catch is moving more in a straight pivot line rather than shifting that way. There's still a little bit of shift due to the fact that there has to be a little bit of play, but you can see that it's working better in that direction. And just for comparison, let me put in the modified magazine, and you can see that that's actually, yeah, let me do that. Let me show you the difference here. So here's the original WE M4 magazine. If I push the bottom, you'll be able to see how much play is left, so to speak, from the top of the arm to it maxing out. There's not much, but there's a little bit. And with this in place, yeah, just like tiny bit less. So let me take out my bolt. And I'll show you here what. So this is the bolt, that's what's riding in the upper receiver, right? And this interface right here, that little ledge is what the bolt catch is interacting with. So if we pick up the bolt catch, you can see here, well, it would be in this direction. That's what we're working with to stop the bolt with the bolt catch inside of the receiver. So you can see if we have not enough lock, it's going to fall behind the bolt, or beside it rather. And if we have just a little, it's not going to be enough. So we want to be, you know, pretty much all the way there to get the maximum amount of contact. And one thing that you can also check is on your bolt, if this area here that the bolt is catching on has been deformed, just flatten it off with a file so that you get a nice flat contact surface in there, okay? You can see here on this side where the bolt catch is riding when it's not engaging and scratching up the surface a little bit. So it's going to come over here, get pushed out, and catch the bolt. That's basically how it works internally. And if we look, well, no, that doesn't do anything else, sorry. But what I was going to show you is if we put the bolt in the rifle, or in the lower rather, see if we can do this. I'll cock the hammer. So I'll try to simulate here. I don't want to get this bolt slammed in my face, but can't get an angle on it. Okay, so that's what it looks like inside. God damn it. Let's see if I can. Okay, I hope you get the idea there. I can't hold this much longer. And also, when I was talking about the bolt travel, if we put the bolt back in, so that's my bolt all the way back, and you can see that we have, I don't know what that could be, 1.5 centimeters of travel before we hit the bolt catch. So if you're like really close and your bolt just comes off that much, it's going to be difficult for the bolt catch to have time to engage and stop the bolt. So hopefully you were able to follow along here, and just make sure that you remove this arm up here. And I'll show you, I actually have a picture of this, but I'll take this apart and I'll overlay the picture in a bit as well. So this is what the bolt catch mechanism looks like inside of the magazine. You have the BB follower right here, pushes on this arm, which actuates upwards, pushes this arm down, which then actuates the tab upwards, and that is what's interfacing with the bolt catch. So let's see if I can push this down without things coming flying. So here, let's say we have a BB in the magazine still. We'll run out of BBs, and the arm comes up. So what I've done is, I think I've done it. Yeah. Basically, what I did is I simply removed a little bit of material on these parts to make the arm pivot up just a tiny bit higher, making the bolt catch engage more securely. So I'll overlay a photo of that so you can take a look at the mods that I've done. And in the meantime, I'll just put the magazine and rifle together, and we should be wrapping this up soon. Alright guys, I'm back. Put the rifle back together. We have the modified bolt catch installed. We have the AEG shims installed. We have the modified WE MSK magazine right here. So let's pop in the magazine and see what happens. I'm also put my Magpul bad lever back in place, and it makes it easier for me to demonstrate the function. This doesn't, if anything, this makes the bolt catch work worse, but you'll see here in a second that it's not an issue anymore. So, not holding the magazine, not pushing anywhere. Pull the bolt back, and we're locking into place. Now here's the cool part. Watch my finger down here. I'm going to push on the bolt catch with the bad lever, and you can see nothing's happening. It's all the way where as far as it can go. So we physically can't get a better lock with the bolt catch than this. And if I'll try to hold the bolt here and push the bolt catch back. There we go. So let's see if we can do it in slow motion. Okay, bolt catches. Watch me push the bad lever. There's like a minute amount of play. Let's see if we can get a shot of it. Yeah, it's not moving anymore. So basically, we now have a fully functional, reliable bolt catch in our WE M4. And I'm hoping that this will help you with your WE M4 rifle. Like I said, there are 4 things to consider. Number 1, make sure you have a good bolt catch. There are a couple of, you can buy WE originals or aftermarket ones. Second thing, shim it with AEG shims to make sure that it doesn't wiggle around. Third, check your buffer tube alignment or spacing. And the third thing is modify, well actually that would be the fourth one, modify the bolt catch itself so that it can pivot out more. And finally, you can modify the bolt catch mechanism in the magazine. If you do those things, you should have a fully functional bolt catch on your WE M4. So that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.